Hello everyone, the December Review here, back again with the top 10 albums of the year video. 2020 was a tough one, but thankfully there was plenty of music to keep us going throughout the year. Let's take a look at my top 10 albums.
We trace those desire lines from our homes to her heart, looking for assurance or to make a fresh start. Was it love that drew us in? Was it love that she departed? All I know is that these ghosts, piece by piece, are pulling me apart.
In 2018, the Cowboy Junkies released All That Reckoning, and soon thereafter, the band lost someone close to them, and they decided to stream all of those emotions into new music, resulting in the Sparse and Intense Ghosts. Realized as sort of a part 2 to that previous release, Ghost paints a Sunday morning backdrop of the pain of losing your mother while flooding with memories of time gone by, all the while with a very sharp eye on our very own mortality. There are moments of rock, country, and that 90s-esque pop flair that the Cowboy Junkies have mastered. As deep as the lyrics are, the music is equally haunting, layered with ringing texture filling in all the empty spaces, while leaving other spots alone to drift. There is anger, sadness, love, and hope, brimming from one song to the next, and you can hear it with every line.
Memories of my memories, sing along. One stone at a time, and the days begin to tumble, and you slowly lose your mind. One stone at a time, and your heart grows cold and brittle, and all the things you counted on get caught up in the grind.
Black lawns, headlights, heading off to the city tonight. Out the front door, turn right. I was alone, alright, alright, alright. I wonder what they'll think of me. I'll run away. This is my town, this is my night. I'm heading off to the city tonight. And she said, come on out with it, come on out with it, come on out with it, come on out with it.
The Airborne Toxic Event returned in 2020 after a lengthy time away from the spotlight and some changes within the band personnel. But they returned in a big way with the epic Hollywood Park. The album can be taken as a companion piece to the lead singer's memoir that was released this year as well. Both sporting the Hollywood Park title, the album and book tell the real-life tale of his upbringing in a cult, being separated from his parents, and the journey he took reclaiming his life. All of the classic Airborne elements are present: the deeply and complex musical arrangements, bombastic guitars, slow-to-move sparseness, and lyrics written with truth serum.
Let me introduce you to the featherweight queen. She got Hollywood eyes, but you can't shoot what she sees. Her mama was a dancer, and that's all that she knew. 'Cause when you live in the desert, it's what pretty girls do. I'm throwing caution. What's it gonna be? Tonight the winds of change are blowing wild and free. If I don't get out of this town, I just might be the one who finally burns it down.
Killers returned in 2020 with their 6th studio album, Imploding the Mirage. For me, it's a tough album to crack. Part of me thinks it's great, yet another side is slightly conflicted. Being one of my favorite bands, the Killers had an amazing peak with their 3rd album, Day and Age, and subsequent tour. In the years that have followed, the band has seen Brandon Flowers release some solo albums, while the band's guitarist and bass player have shifted in and out of the proceedings, deciding not to tour anymore. Imploding the Mirage is the first Killers album to not feature guitarist Dave Keuning at all on it. A bittersweet concept, although I admire the guys needing to do what they feel is best. So the album hits me a different way when I listen to it. There are some great moments here though. Caution is the Killers tune we haven't had in a while, loaded with that quirky Brandon flair that only he can sing with. And like most of the great Killers material, there's a lot of that driving, emotionally high songs here to be found. The Americana, grand old USA, Bruce Springsteen world that Brandon has found himself in is still present here, but there's lots of layers around it. Of course, it's all seen through the lens of an 80s Las Vegas synth lunchbox. As a purist, hopefully one day the entire band can get behind the wheel again for a proper album and tour together, but regardless, Imploding the Mirage contains some of the Killers' strongest work in a while.
I tried going against my own soul's warning, but in the end, something just didn't feel right. Oh, I tried diving even though the sky was storming, and I just wanted to get back to where you are.
And these are the reasons I don't even think I would quit. And these are the reasons I can't even see straight. And these are the ones whom I know it so deeply affects. And I am left wondering how I would function without. Here we are. I feel such rapture and the comfort is so strong.
Alanis Morissette returned in 2020 with her new album, Such Pretty Forks in the Road. It's been 8 years since her previous release, the underrated Havoc and Bright Lights. With that album saw a slightly different, softer side of Alanis, Pretty Forks balances things out a bit. It's evident right off the bat with track 1, Smiling, a throwback of sorts to what I would consider one of the greatest albums ever recorded in that supposed former infatuation junkie. Smile throws in a bit of Joining You and adds a dash of Uninvited while sounding as fresh as ever. Lyrically, there are moments of joy as she's surrounded by her new family, but underneath there is a thread of despair. But with all that second guessing comes a strong assurance, one that Alanis has made a career out of on her own terms. Such Pretty Forks didn't need to remind us of that, but it sure does say hello to those who forgot.
This is my first wave of my white flag. This is the sound of me hitting bottom. This my surrender, if that's what you call it, and the anatomy of my crash. And I keep on smiling, keep on moving, can't stand still. All the pictures and TV dinners tell me all about how it's working out. And we all had this look like, could you give me a break? I
I was fortunate enough to find some new artists this year, and Samantha Crane was one of them. It's funny how life works sometimes. I was driving home one day, and I usually have a mix CD going on in the car. Yes, I still buy and use CDs. But on this particular random day, I wanted to take a spin around the old radio dial. I landed on my local NPR broadcast that was just squeaking through with enough of a signal that I could hear the station with my radio cranked all the way up. Not 10 seconds after landing on said station, Samantha Crane's Reunion came on. I instantly fell in love with this powerful voice I was hearing for the first time. Plus, the lyrics were extremely dynamic. Trouble was, I was in my car, so when the song was over, I had to use the force to burn any of the lyrics into my head as I could remember them, so when I got home, I could take it to YouTube and figure it all out. What I figured out was a fantastic artist who just released a new album. A Small Death is loaded with acoustic and reflective passages, simmering with emotion, and that voice, there is some force behind it, it's loaded with experience. Not bad for one random day on a drive home.
I know the shape of a great heartache, and I know the weight of a big mistake. I know the feel of a magical moment, fully explained. Instead we just act normal. Do we smile even now? So many years pass, but I know too much now. Felt like giving up this time. Think I was in school for too much time. So much motion in one small place. Is it too much to ask for you to go away?
Well, Adriana McCasm landed on my radar thanks to one Sharon Van Etten, who posted a picture of the album cover. Being as Sharon is one of the best to ever write a song, I trusted her recommendation. Finding the song soon after, Now I Feel It, came over like a wave of hope. I then jumped into the rest of the material. Adriana's voice hovers over the proceedings. Quiet Sides is just an EP. The demo-esque tracks are a lovely snapshot of what's sure to come in a future release.
You roll right now, and I feel it. You roll right now, and I feel it. You roll right now, and you roll right now. Day off in Kyoto, got bored at the temple, looked around at the 7-Eleven. The band took the speed train, went to the arcade. I wanted to go, but I didn't. You called me from a payphone, they still got payphones. It cost $1 a minute to tell me you're getting sober. You wrote me a letter, but I don't have to read it. Hey,
Bridgers dropped her second solo album this year with Punisher. With 2 side projects in between this and the excellent debut Stranger in the Alps, it doesn't seem like Phoebe has disappeared much from the spotlight since breaking down the door with Motion Sickness, Funeral, and Smoke Signals. Punisher brings all of the low-key, subtle, and slyly written lyrics fans have come to expect. Things kick off with the mind-altering Garden song, which sets the listener up for what to expect from here on out. And there isn't any filler on this album. The 1-2 punch of Chinese Satellite and Moon Song sets you up for the show, then comes Savior Complex and I See You to knock you on your feet. But what the audience doesn't know is that Punisher holds an ace up its sleeve. The album's final track, I Know the End, is as direct and fierce as anything I've heard in a long time. The song starts off like many others before eventually settling into an almost prime Killer's tempo change. And that would be cool enough for most songs, but this one has way more to say. Building and building into literal rage mode, the song and album concludes with screaming over double-time drums. Game, set, and match. It conveys all the feelings of 2020 in its singular runtime.
We're not alone. I'll find a new place to be from. A haunted house with a picket fence to float around and ghost my friends. No, I'm not afraid to disappear. The billboard said the end is near. I turned around, there was nothing there. Yeah, I guess the end is here. I resent you for being raised right. I resent you for being tall. I resent you for never getting any opposition at all. I resent you for having each other. I resent you for being so sure. I resent you presenting your life like a fucking propaganda brochure. And I see that you keep trying to bait me, and I love to get up in your face. But I know if I hate you for hating me, I will have entered the endless race. Evil is a relay spark when the one who's burned turns to pass the torch. Evil is a relay spark when the one who's burned turns to pass the torch. Evil is a relay spark when the one who's burned turns to pass the torch. Evil is a relay spark when the one who's burned turns to pass the torch.
Earlier in the year, Fiona Apple dropped her 5th studio album, Fetch the Bolt Cutters. It's a bold and imaginative record filled with epic arrangements and mesmerizing vocal abilities. The title alone invokes an angry lashing out, but within the album's narrative, to fetch the bolt cutters is to free oneself from the containment you have put yourself in, be it spiritually, mentally, physically, or all three. The song Heavy Balloon floats around a catchy backdrop before diving headfirst into a chorus built to be an anthem for years to come. The album explores self-doubt from an early age and allows itself to linger on all the little details that can break you down over the years. But it never fails to come back to a strong self-worth. This 1-2 punch of Under the Table and Relay is some of the singer's best work yet.
I'd like to buy you a pair of pillow-soled hiking boots to help you with your climb, or rather to help the bodies that you step over along your route, so they won't hurt like mine. Kick me under the table all you want, I won't shut up, I won't shut up. Kick me under the table all you want, I won't shut up, I won't shut up.
Fetch the Bolt Cutters is a complicated and challenging record. I imagine it will take some time to fully deconstruct, and as she says in the opening track, maybe next year it will be clear. And that's a compliment because what she's crafted is nothing short of a masterpiece. This is her Sgt. Pepper. This is a game changer. The sonic landscape is all over the map yet together at the same time. The themes are apparent and so is the growth, emotional, spiritual, and experimental. It keeps you on high alert not knowing what will come next, and not just from song to song but minute by minute. Each stanza raps over the next with wide-awake authority. Perhaps if Fiona didn't take so long to put out albums, this wouldn't feel as shocking as it does. Perhaps the fact that a nearly decade-long wait helps create and fuel this emotional and creative astonishment. Fetch the Bolt Cutters is as real and alive and as original as any album I've ever heard.
People like us get so heavy and so lost sometimes. So lost and so heavy that the bottom is the only place we can find. You get dragged down to the same spot enough times in a row. The bottom begins to feel like the only safe place that you know. But you know what? I spread like strawberries. I climb like peas and beans. I've been sucking it in so long that I'm busting at the seams. I spread like strawberries. I climb like peas and beans. I've been sucking it in so long that I'm busting at the seams.
It's everything I am and what I'm not and all I'm trying to be. This is the part where I spit it all out. You decide what you think of me. I'm not trying to be complicated. I'm never waiting to get the last laugh. But I've been handing out benefits of the doubt. I'd like a little bit back. It's just a little voice, and if you're listening, sometimes a little voice can say the biggest things. It's just my little voice that I've been missing.
In a slight surprise this year, Sara Bareilles released More Love, the soundtrack to Season 1 of the Apple TV show Little Voice, of which she helped create, alongside J.J. Abrams and Jesse Nelson. The show follows Bess, a singer-songwriter in Manhattan, as she tries to keep her life in balance while forging ahead with a musical career. I did a video on each episode that you can check out on my channel. Season 1 was pitch perfect, and mostly each episode featured a new song written by Sara and sung by our lead, Brittany O'Grady. I assumed Sara would record her own voice to the songs like she did with Waitress, but as you know, 2020 happened, but thankfully that didn't stop this beauty of an album from happening. A bit more of a low-key affair than some of her previous work, but flowing nicely next to last year's Brilliant amidst the chaos, More Love takes the TV show's episodic songs and weaves them into a full-blown emotional roller coaster. The show title and one of the standout tracks, Little Voice, was a song she penned for her first album of the same name. It was deemed not worthy of being on the record by those in charge, so while fans have been able to hear the song through the years in various ways, it's recorded here along with 9 other treats. The album starts off with I Don't Know Anything, the scene setter and first step of the journey. It's loaded with self-doubt and honest questions. The subtle nature of the vocals as they careen around every corner, wooing every last emotion, is the album's secret weapon. Title track More Love is as grand and thought-provoking as anything the singer has ever recorded in her career. With a middle section that will stop you in your tracks and get you dancing with inspiration at the same time. King of the Lost Boys echoes that bravado, acting as the war paint to a lost soul trying to find their way in the world.
Give me a kiss goodbye and go explore the night. You know the way you can come back anytime. And if the fear comes heavy on you, make some noise. You're the king of the lost boys.
This thing is loaded with gems. The shifting Coming Back to You looks to shed the years past, while Tell Her throws down on the show's back and forth complicated love relationship. At times, she has never sounded better, and that's tough to do considering all of her previous albums are pretty much perfect. I hope the show goes another 20 seasons, if that means we get 19 more albums like this. It's the work of an artist in their prime, showing true growth and an exceptional display of talent.
For my story to tell, my story to tell, my story to tell. There is enough, there is enough. What do you fight for? I want more. There is enough, so ask for more to fill you up. Nobody's keeping score. Do you know what you fight for? What you fight for? I want more love.
Was it in a vacuum? Is it that it's only you that runs as deep? Trying to find something to climb that doesn't feel so steep. Am I burning us out to keep your interest peaked? Go down with me. I have these moments when I panic, when I shut down and go manic, so eruptive and destructive, like within I am volcanic. I have a head that won't stop aching, and a voice that's tired of breaking, and I'd snap myself right out and tell you what it's all about if I knew.
And just like that, with those few measures of the song Volcanic, Gordy stormed into the top spot of 2020 and never let go. Finding its way on my radar thanks to a random Instagram post, Gordy unleashed a catalog of music that now takes its rightful spot amongst some of my favorite artists of all time. Gordy released her first album, Reservoir, back in 2017. While that masterpiece is filled with brimming acoustic guitar, electronic takeovers, and lyrics that speak to the loss of love, Our Two Skins sheds some of that yearning and instead finds itself waist deep in new love. Yes, there are moments of insecurity here, like the epic 6-minute album opener, Aeroplane Bathroom, a sparse song that allows Gordy to reflect on isolation thousands of feet in the air. And of course, Volcanic, the remains of a panic attack that take the listener into dark corners. But the album's overall theme is the unpacking of a new relationship. Unready gets things going big. As danceable as it is thought-provoking, Unready is exactly what it says, showing the scared nature of taking the next step in life while knowing you are also prepared for it. It's been my anthem for the year, and I expect one for decades to come.
It took me further than I thought I'd go. I was listening to a voice I know. Said, take me down another way. And going on, and then you're feeling like you're nothing. Wanna hold it in your hand, but it's always on your shoulder. I know. You know where I have been.
Extraordinary Life basks in hope, while Limits comes off like a relationship dream, floating around all of the best of what someone can offer. Free Association hovers around the fear of total commitment. The album also includes a track so personal, The Breathtaking Sandwiches, about the loss of a loved one. Behind the bouncy drums and guitar strums, the lyrics paint the feelings that are contained in the tragic news in such an unfortunate way. It's the type of musical creation that moves the chains from it being a standout song to a work of art.
You'd be all I for every time we get home, and I think I thought you'd be there.
Gordy's vocals convey a true and honest message behind them, making it easy for the listener to know that this is all coming from a real place. The highs are soaring and sweet, while the lows are uncomfortable but brave. The paradox between both of Gordy's two full-length albums show the true depths of the artist, and one that has me unready for what the next one will bring. Our Two Skins is at once a love letter and a reminder of the constant push and pull between happiness and the challenges that we meet. And it's my #1 album of the year.
Your voice, it came to me the clearest I had heard. Those many nights where I lay hanging from your every word, and in my bloodstream you did multiply, and then walk down an avenue and take me to the end. And it's like you're in my chest, it's like you're in my lungs. Took something ordinary, set it for a run. The way I need you now is more than to survive. I wanna give you an extraordinary life. Divergence underneath, toward directions that took gravity away from me. Blind and the blinder breathed you in until the dawn. I'll tell you now, I won't be back before I